Hello, friends, and welcome to r/ProRevenge. Today we have another set of 2 great stories about crazy people and their revenge for you to enjoy. Subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. To the story. Think you can block my car in and claim disability while there's a disabled space available? Go for it. So my driveway's on the corner of my street and has recently had double yellow lines put on the road to stop people parking there and causing issues for buses, etc. As I was preparing to leave the house yesterday, I noticed through my door that someone was blocking me in. Doesn't happen that often, usually delivery drivers, so I opened my door to have a look. Middle-aged woman is locking her car door and walking away, so I told her that she couldn't park on double yellow lines and block my car. She proceeded to tell me she had a disabled badge and was popping to the shops to collect a parcel. I explained that even with a disabled badge, she couldn't park there and that I was leaving anyway, so she was blocking. I also explained that there is disabled parking at the shops. Now this is the part that really started the revenge. She told me that she didn't want to park at the shops and wanted to park there, that she always parked there, and that she can stay there for 3 hours if she likes using the disabled pass, and that if I take up any more of her time, she'll call the police before striding away from me. I checked the laws, which said she can park on double yellow lines, but only if she's not an obstruction and is 15 meters away from a junction, which she was not. So I decided that if she wanted to be that petty, then so be it. I got in my car and reversed it down my driveway until it was 5 centimeters away from the driver door. When she returned 10 minutes later, shops are a 30-second walk away, she asked me to move my car, to which I explained that I was trying to leave my house, but unfortunately someone was in the way, so I had to leave my car there. To finish this off, she had to call a member of her family to come down, go into the passenger side, squeeze over to the driver's side, and move the car. As they did, I thanked them for their efforts, jumped in my car, and drove away. That's what you get for being an a-hole. And our next story. I'm not your meal ticket. I, being in the U.S. Army, become attracted to a woman whom I ended up marrying. At first, she's all I could ever ask for in a woman. Sweet, caring, one hell of a cuddler. Doesn't really like video games like I do, but makes an effort to get into them so we can spend time together doing something we both enjoy. Let's call her Thunder C, or TC for short, for reasons you will soon know. I met TC through one of the other soldiers I worked with, who we'll call BB, Battle Buddy, since he was not at fault in this. It was in the middle of the week, and I'd just gotten a work order finished up and was taking a quick break for a drink of water. I heard BB asking a few other soldiers if they were open for a date for this coming weekend. Now I knew from a few other friends that BB was straight, so I was curious as to why he was asking. Long story short, BB had a female friend who was looking for a date for a movie that coming weekend. I offered to go with his friend, big mistake, and she and I hit it off rather well and continued to see each other. Months pass. It hasn't been enough time for me to consider marriage yet, but she has some spontaneous ailments, seizures, and they were legit, spring up out of nowhere. Since these only seem to happen in her sleep, and my command wouldn't let me stay off post with her without being married. Light bulb. We got a courtroom wedding 2 weeks later. The added bonus, not only could I stay with her while she slept to be ready in case of another episode, but my TRICARE would fully cover her medical costs. I was happy, she was happy, I got to tell my command, now you can't stop me from staying with her, and we all lived happily ever after. Except we didn't. Things went well for a while, as I described at the beginning of the post, but after a bit I started noticing things. Things like her needing to take her mother to the doctor's office quite frequently. Her mother was sickly, so I didn't think much of it at first, or needing to head to Walmart one town over because the one in our town didn't have what she needed in stock. Things like the car I bought and let her use seen parked in a lot next to several different trailer parks in a month. Well, as luck would have it, right as I started to get suspicious, I came down on orders to PCS to Korea. So sidelining the investigation until I was able to continue, I packed, kissed my wife goodbye, and let the Army send me where they wanted me. I spent a year in Korea, then came down on orders for Texas. I went there. It was there that I found out exactly what was going on, courtesy of her mom, brother, and her aunt and uncle. This woman slept with other men, most of whom were soldiers. So basically, this woman is using me as a paycheck and meal ticket and screwing everything with a pulse that happens to be male. The icing on the cake is that 2 weeks after I get the good news, she calls me and confesses to cheating on me. Once. The only reason she confessed, she was pregnant. There was no way I could be the father, given that I was in a different state at the time, and the father was African American. I am very much not African American, having been called neon white on more than one occasion due to my Irish ancestry, so there was no possible way this child would look like me at all. So my wife felt the need to break the news to me before she had the baby, because she could no longer hide it. Well, things happened. I went back home without her knowing and removed my belongings from the house I bought to keep her from selling them once she realized what I was about to do and started divorce proceedings. This is revenge number 1. I saw her boyfriend driving my car, so I enlisted the help of her aunt and uncle to get my car back. They pulled up behind him in a parking lot, got out, and talked to him normally, at which time I walked up from the other side of the parking lot. Her uncle asked to see the keys, and upon receiving them, began taking the car key off the ring and waved me forward. I walked up, took the car key from him, looked at the guy and said, "Hi, my name's OP and this is my car. I'm taking it now." I waved him over to the sidewalk, removed everything from the car that didn't have my name on it, left the items with him, then got in my car and drove off. I found out later that day he had packed everything and left her. Apparently, he'd been living in my house, eating my food, sleeping in my bed, wearing my clothes. Plus, she'd been using the money I sent her every month to pay for his court costs and child support costs. Well, months went by, our court date came up, and my lawyer recommended that I file for sole use of the vehicle and the property since it was obvious that she had committed adultery and didn't have a leg to stand on. We go to court, she counterfiles for the exact same, and since she refused to release the results of a paternity test, I get stonewalled. The exact words used by the judge were, "I'm sorry, but without proof of paternity of the child, I cannot in good conscience approve either of these motions." So we set a new date for a private hearing with the judge and we wait. Nearly 3 months go by and the court date was finally near. I walked into the courthouse, met up with my lawyer who had a demonic glint in his eye at the time, and I was about to find out why. Went into the courtroom and waited 20 minutes later. She walked in, shot me a dirty look, which I did my best to ignore, and sat down. The judge came in 5 minutes later, the court was called to order, and the divorce trial commenced. Here I found out just what had given my lawyer the twinkle in his eye earlier. He proceeded to ask TC a series of questions, including, "Is my client the father of your child? When was the child conceived? Where was my client during the time at which your child was conceived? Do you know who the father of your child is? Have you received child support from the father of your child?" Basically, he questioned her into a legal corner in which she had to either answer truthfully or lie and suffer the legal ramifications of perjury in the face of easily provable evidence. She answered truthfully, lucky for her, and the court case continued. She presented her argument, littered with dirt she was trying to throw on me, insults to my person, questions about my sexual orientation, and claims that I was having a relationship with her 18-year-old cousin. I, falling back on my military training, simply sat up straight, folded my hands in front of me on the table, and stared at a spot on the wall slightly above the judge's left shoulder. I answered every question asked of me, offered no personal opinions, threw no dirt, and refused to sink to her level. Subsequently, she had a more and more confused look on her face as I refrained from bad-mouthing her like she was doing me, and the divorce trial went by rather fast. At the conclusion of the trial, the judge looked over the paperwork submitted one last time, then looked to the both of us. "Are there any closing remarks or claims that need to be made?" TC made one last parting swipe about me currently living with her aunt and uncle. I had rented my own apartment months ago after finishing my military time and going back home, and I merely shook my head and resumed staring at the wall. The judge took one last look over the papers, set them down, and spoke the greatest words I have ever heard in my life. "Well, looking over the evidence and testimonies presented, there's really only one decision I can come to. Mr. OP, I am approving your motions for exclusive use of the vehicle and property upon undeniable evidence of adultery. Mrs. OP's wife, the only one of your motions I'm granting today is your request for a no-contact order, and that is more for Mr. OP's benefit than your own. You seemed very combative and willing to cause him legal damage that he was not due, and your repeated attempts to overtalk me while I was reviewing the paperwork did not speak well of you. You no longer have a claim to either the property or the vehicle and will not contact Mr. OP unless it is to have him clarify which items do not belong to you. TC had the audacity to work up a sniffle and ask the judge, But where do I go? What do I do for a place to live? The judge looked back at her and replied, Well, Mrs. OP's ex-wife, you have 30 days to figure that out, after which you will not set foot on that property again or else you'll be held in contempt of court. Glad you ended it, and doubly glad that you screwed her over on the way out. Keep up the good life, soldier. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.